I will start sharing my screen. Just one moment. Yeah. I think you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So hello everyone. It's so nice to speak to you again in this session. And this session is not about mycetoma per se, but about a topic that is gaining wide world attention everywhere in the world now. It's now being led by NASA and the UNESCO. And so we thought that it's important for all of us here at the club to have some ideas about what open science is and sort of try to understand why is it important. And this presentation, I'm presenting it as part of the African Reproducibility Network. And I'm currently working as the co-director of the network and the training lead. And this is part of an initiative that we started, which is called Open Science Bites. Okay, so today it will be an introduction to open science. We probably won't be able to cover anything, so we might need to do other parts in the future, hopefully. So I wanted to talk a bit more about AREN. So AREN is a community-led initiative that is basically aiming to bridge the gaps in open science advocacy and practice across the African continents. There is a big gap in the continent when it comes to adopting open science practices, and this is what AREN is trying to do. Our mission, of course, is to equip African researchers and scholars with the necessary support and resources that would enable them to sort of get on board with the global movement. And it's not just a movement, it's openness is going to be, reproducibility is going to soon to be a requirement, a must in research. So our work is an extension of an international coordinated effort. So we are part of a bigger network of reproducibility networks. So as you can see, the original network is the UK AREN, the UK Reproducibility Network. This is the originator. But then these networks spread all over the place. There are some national networks, but there are also some continent-wide network, just like AREN. For our agenda, so we would like to promote open science and reproducible research in Africa by, just one moment, thank you. Yeah, so our agenda is to promote open science and reproducible research in Africa. And we're hoping to do so by three main things. First of all, is directly engaging those at the grassroots, the researchers at the grassroots, because they are the ones who are facing the most difficulties currently to sort of conduct their work and also obtain information easily and free of charge. We are also hoping to support the establishment of local reproducibility networks. AREN is a continent-wide reproducibility network, but we are working to make national and institutional reproducibility network, and we have already started that by our local network leads training program, which our coordinator, this program coordinator, Samira, is one of the amazing trainees that we have among a cohort of about 40 other trainees coming from about 20 different African countries. And of course, the end goal is that we set up and grow a continent-wide open science community that would be able to support each other in navigating the requirements of open science. So a bit about our community. We're currently operating in 29 African countries, and we have about 300 community members. And I wanted to note that AREN is not yet 1 year old. We will finish our first year of operation in November. So we're very happy that we were able to get this reach within this short amount of time. But this shows the appetite that the continent has for open science. We are also within 175 institutions and organizations across Africa, and 60% of our community come from the life, health, and biological sciences, and 80% of them are faculty, researcher, and postgraduate students. And these are the main target of our efforts, because these are the people who are conducting research and making policies in their institutions. We have so many collaborators. We were so lucky to have the support of many national and international open science initiatives. And this is only some of the initiatives that we're currently working with, notably eLife. Actually, eLife was where it all started. But we are working with so many other open science communities. And this is what's lovely about open science, is the community is so supportive, and they're always trying to help each other as much as they can. So these are only some of the collaborators that we have. So it's very easy for you to join our community. You can just scan this QR code, and I would also share the link to our registration Google Doc in the chat when I finish. It's very easy. We just ask you a few questions, and then you're basically part of our community. You'll receive regular email updates, and we will also add you to a Slack channel where you will interact with so many other African and non-African researchers interested in open science. Okay, now finally to the session. Today we'll talk about what is open science and what ignited the open science movement. And we'll also try to cover the values, principles, and pillars that make the open science movement. So what is open science? So basically, open science is the practice of making scientific research, data, and dissemination accessible to the public and policymaker, practitioners, and professionals. So it's basically making scientific knowledge, no matter what it was, accessible to everyone that basically need them, not make them as the mostly currently the issue is that they're usually behind paywalls, or people cannot have ease of access to these things. And this approach aims to encourage transparency, reproducibility, and broad collaboration in the research process. So in open science, transparency and reproducibility, you will hear these terminologies a lot in collaboration, because these are the essence of open science. So basically, open science is about removing barriers to knowledge and making science a public good. So the idea is that science is not the property of someone. Science is a public good, and it should be disseminated and accessible in that way. Anyone who needs this information should be able to access this information freely without any obstacles. So now to the drivers, or what sort of shifted the movement towards open science. So the open science movement started to pick base really around 2016, 2017. This is where like things got, like people started to talk about open science, and it's been growing exponentially ever since. So the very first trigger that led people to think, oh, we need to think more open, is the reproducibility crisis. And this basically was that researchers were trying to take studies that were already published, and they were trying to replicate these studies, do them again, and they winded up not reaching the same results. So this means that the science that is reported is not reproducible. And this is, of course, very, very dangerous, because this affects the trust in scientific research. And this scientific research is actually, it's not just a publication. It's usually due to the advice or the outcomes that come from these studies. There are allocation of resources, and there are formulation of policies, And if the research is not reproducible, this means that you're basically building your policies and distributing your resources based on nothing, based on no evidence, because the work is not reproducible. So this was the very first trigger that made people think that now open science is important. The second thing is, I think, something that we all have suffered from, especially in Africa, is that it's difficult to access scientific literature. So I think there are countless times that we want to access a paper and we say, you know, a prompt that tells us to pay like, I don't know, $50 or $100 to access this paper. So this costly subscription-based publishing and the paywalls led to the fact that people who are underprivileged, which is the case in most African countries, cannot really access the information in an equitable way. The third thing was the biases in the scholarly reviews and publication. So the traditional peer review system, unfortunately, have been infiltrated by many issues. And these issues led to biases and lack of transparency. And sometimes it even hinders the innovation of research. So, for example, if a researcher is coming from a certain African country, some reviewers might automatically think in their head, oh, this research must not be of good quality because this country is poor. So they automatically have this bias, you know, that then this work should not be good or would not be good, and then they would review it with this bias in mind. And the other thing is that the review process basically happens behind closed walls. We don't see, like, the review process usually happen between the authors, the editor, and the reviewers, but the public doesn't know what happened behind these walls. And this brings room to some more biases to come in. So again, this is one of the triggers for the movement. And finally was the lack of collaboration and disciplinarity in research. So unfortunately, research are working as if they are in their own silos, whether geographically, whether in a lab. You know, each lab is competing and each country is competing. If they think about it, if they join hands, they could actually do some really amazing work and much bigger work that could eventually solve complex global challenges. So these are the four main things that sort of, you know, sparked the idea that, oh, this system cannot continue to work. We need to be more transparent. We need to be more reproducible to ensure that science is, first of all, could be trusted, and second of all, could be accessed by everyone. So as I said, the open science movement has emerged as a transformative approach to address several critical issues facing the scientific community today. And these issues are sort of summarized in the four main issues that I've mentioned before. And how does open science do that? So it does that by fostering a collective agreement on employing certain values, principles, and pillars. You know, these values, principles, pillars, and are agreed upon by researchers and by the scientific community. And of course, these values, principles, and pillars work hand in hand. You know, they are not operating separately, but they work hand in hand in a dynamic way so that it produces a framework of community and collaboration that embrace open science and that sort of enhance the scientific community. And we can think of open science as basically a building. So we call this the building of open science. And this building, as you can see, the base of the building is composed of the open science values, And the open science values are sort of the ethical and moral beliefs that we need to agree upon if we are to be involved in the open science movement. Then we have the open science principles, and these are the guidelines, like the core guidelines that govern and structure the open science movement. And then we have the pillars of our building, which are the open science pillars. And these are basically the fundamental components or categories of the open science framework. So they are sort of the walls or the pillars that are holding this building around. And finally, our roof is the community and collaboration. And again, we said open science is about creating a collaborative and exclusive scientific community that would support open science. So as you can see, without each component, the other cannot be. So if we don't have the base, we will not be able to build the pillars. If we don't have the pillars, we will not be able to put the roof over the building. So it's a bit of a metaphor to think about how these different open science components interact. So let's start by the open science values. And these are mainly equity and integrity and collective benefit. These are the open science values. And by equity, we mean that everyone has equal access to scientific knowledge and opportunities for contribution. So everyone gets a chance. No one should not have access because they come from a certain region where there are more financial difficulties than the other, or no one should not be able to participate because they are thought of not having enough experience. You know, that everyone should come together. The strong should support the weak in order to advance the scientific movement. The second value is integrity. And this is mainly that everyone should uphold standards, high standards of honesty and transparency in conducting and reporting research. So again, as I said, transparency is something that comes a lot when we talk about open science. Finally, the open science values is the collective benefit. As we said, open science thinks of knowledge as a public good. You know, it's a public property that everyone should have access to, and there should be no discrimination in that. So collective benefit is viewing knowledge as a collective asset that should benefit society as a whole. And I wanted to bring up a very important thing, is that there's a difference between equity and equality. So people were eventually rooting for equality, but eventually we came to know that equality does not really work. We need equity. So this comic gives you a brief understanding of the difference. So unfortunately, here is the reality. Some people have way many resources than they need, and some have few and some have none. They're even like in a ditch. And if we say that we want equality, then all of them will have the same resource. But unfortunately, this is not enough, because some people need more support or more resources than others in order to achieve their goal. So this is equity. You know, this is equity. This is what we're talking about. It doesn't have to be equality, but it means that everyone should be able to have the support they need to accomplish what they want. And of course, the dream is that at the end, we reach liberation, where there are no barriers that, you know, people have to overcome, like paywalls, for example, and everyone will have completely open and easy access to everything that they need to achieve their goal. Now we move to the open science principles, and please let me know if I'm talking too fast, because sometimes I get a bit carried away. So is my speed okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, thank you, Samira. So for the open science principles, we have transparency, again, as I said, transparency will come again and again many times. We have accessibility, we have reproducibility, collaboration, and inclusivity. And transparency, as the name implies, is that the research process should be available for everyone or for the public at all of its stages, even from the very start of the idea. You know, now in open science, there is something called pre-registration. So actually you can use some certain platforms that you go and pre-register your idea, research idea, and this actually gives you sort of a timestamp that this was your idea and you're the one who came with it. But then again, it's open, you know, open for everyone to see. And this extends for everything that comes after, you know, the methodology that you use, the data that you got, the analysis that you used, if you use certain codes to do the analysis, and of course the results. These are all should be transparent and available for everyone to see. Then we have, of course, accessibility. And again, this is about making sure that scientific outputs is accessible to all and removing any financial, technical, or legal barriers. As you can see, these things sort of intertwine. Like it's really difficult to separate them entirely from each other. But I tried my best to do that so that we could have a broader understanding of open science. And then we have reproducibility. And of course, this is what we discussed. This is one of the things that sparked the movement, is that verification of the data and the methodologies and results should be feasible. So if someone took your research and used your data and did the same analysis that you did, they should come to the same results. This should be a must. And unfortunately, and we can talk more about reproducibility later on, this is not the case. And this has been proven time and time, that if you use the same data, the same analysis, you won't get the same results. And this is a very big issue. And again, collaboration. So again, encouraging cooperative work across disciplines and geographical boundaries, because, you know, we need to think of science as a greater good. We are serving humanity with our work, so we should try to collaborate as much as we can so that we could achieve more and achieve bigger things. And of course, inclusivity, and this stems from the fact that there are certain groups that have been, for ages, have been excluded or looked down upon in the scientific community. So inclusivity ensures that diversity of participation in science is present by all sectors of society, okay? So no matter who you are, you cannot choose who you are in most of the cases. You cannot choose your nationality. You cannot choose your ethnicity. So this should not be something that results in you being excluded from things. You should have the chance to be included in everything. And now we move to the open science pillars. And as we said, these are sort of the core components of open science. And they are, for example, they could be categorized under open knowledge dissemination, open research processes, and open tools and infrastructure. So if we look at the open knowledge dissemination, for example, one of the tools that open science use for open knowledge dissemination are preprints. And preprints are basically complete manuscripts that have not been yet published in a journal, but they are made available for everyone in certain servers. There are certain preprint servers, and again, we can talk more about preprints. But the idea is that you could post your work, your finalized manuscript in these preprint servers, and it will be instantly accessible to everyone and without them having to pay one dime. So this is one of the tools of open science. And one important thing is that now almost all the major publishers embrace preprints. And some of them even ask you to first post your manuscript as a preprint, then have it peer-reviewed by the journal. For example, eLife is a very big publisher in the UK. For them, they have changed the publishing system. For them, if you want to publish at eLife, you have first to post a preprint and then send the preprint to eLife for them to review and then publish in their journal. And I think many publishers are going to follow. Open access, I think most of us know what open access is. And we have many types of open access. Again, we can talk about that more. We have the gold, green, and diamond open access. Also, we have open educational resources, which is mainly providing educational content free for anyone who needs them to use them. Okay, so for example, a professor working at Harvard could make his or her lectures freely available. There are certain repositories that you can do that. You can put those sort of resources in, for example, like Zenodo, and then they will be available for example, let's say a researcher who's just starting their journey, or a teaching assistant starting their journey in a very remote, let's say African city. So this is the idea, you know, everyone gets to take advantage or benefit from the experience of those who are more experienced. For the open research processes, it's simply making all of the research process open. As I said, even before open data, you can start with the pre-registration of the research idea, of the hypothesis that you have. Then you make the data, you collect it open, and then the methodology used, you should make it very open and very detailed so that anyone could follow through. And there is even open notebooks. So we all, for all of those of us who worked in the lab, we usually have a small notebook that we scrap or we write on our experiments and so on. Even those could be made open, you know, because usually there are small details that you write in your notebook that don't eventually wind up in the publication. You know, in the publication, we cannot write the method in great details. But if you have the notebook open, then anyone who wants to reproduce your experiment can simply go to your notebook and see step by step, day by day, what you did and what were the obstacles that you had and what were the, like, you know, the small tweaks that you needed to do to the experiment. And finally, we have the open peer review. As I said earlier, one of the triggers of the open science movement was that peer review process is biased. So now open science is trying to make the peer review process open, you know. The peer review process, you know, this thing that was happening behind walls that was only accessible to the authors, the editor, and the reviewers should now be open, you know. That discussion, you know, those emails that go back and forward between the reviewers and the author and the editor, they should all be made open so that people could see what were the changes that were made. And then it will be clear, you know, then the reviewer would be afraid to or less encouraged to be biased, you know. They have to provide constructive criticism because this will be public. Everyone will see what this reviewer said. So this is the open research processes that open science is trying to achieve. Then we have the open tools and infrastructure, and these encompass open source. So basically using software that are not, you don't have to pay to use. For example, in analysis, people used to use SPSS, you know, Minis, GraphPad Prism, and these are all paid. You have to pay them, pay or buy subscription in order to use them, and this is not feasible for everyone. You have to have your lab buy it, for example, because it's very expensive to buy it from your own pocket. So the idea is to move from these things. And the same thing is that if you do the analysis with this software, if someone else was to come and redo the analysis, they will have to use the same software, and it's paid. And so this eventually will lead to a loop that is endless. So for example, now people are largely moving to using R. R is an open source tool that is used for statistical analysis that everyone anywhere in the world could use it free of charge. We even have open hardware, even the equipments. You can, for example, there is a very, very famous example of a certain microscope. And this microscope, the details of building this microscope has been made public, and they use 3D printers, and they've made every step public so that anyone could basically be able to replicate or make this open hardware again. And it also extends to open infrastructure, meaning that support of open platforms, tools, and services that are essential for conducting and disseminating open science. I promise I'm almost done. Finally, if you remember the roof of our building was the community and collaboration. So open science encourages community engagement and collaboration by what is known as citizen science. So open science have even opened the door for citizens and the public themselves to be involved in the research. And they are a very important stakeholder, because eventually, whatever type of research that you're doing, it will eventually be used or benefited for by the public. So why not involve the public or the citizens from the get-go, so that, because I think we've seen many times that we've spent so much time and money on developing, for example, a tool. And when we come and give this tool to the target population that they want to use it, they don't like it. They don't like it. It doesn't fit their beliefs or their capabilities. So we've basically wasted a lot of time and money and resources trying to serve the community while winding up not serving them. So you should involve the public from the get-go in your research. We also have open educational practices. So encourage teaching and learning practices that embrace openness in instructional design and execution. So for example, us at AREN, we're doing that, but what we do is that we'll make all our educational materials open, and we will also be open about how we prepare these educational materials, so that if someone else wanted to prepare similar things, they could reuse our materials, or they could know the steps that we took to create this material. And even beyond that, like, for example, the whole AREN idea, we usually, for each community meeting that we have, we tell everyone how it started, how we are working, how we are doing things, so that if someone else wants to use the same approach that we did, then they could do that. And this, of course, applies to anything else. There is also open advocacy, and this is also what AREN is trying to do. We provide advocacy about open science to different communities, so that hopefully we could spread the movement and sort of increase the volume of the open science community. And by that, I come to the end of my talk, and thank you very much, and I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lamise, for this nice presentation. Now we can have some questions before heading to the next presentation.
Again, I would like to congratulate Lamise for this nice and elegant presentation. It is really an open eye on the idea, the principles, and how we can achieve the open science. Thank you very much, Lamise, for this nice presentation.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
I would just like to add that, yes, I am part of the local network lead, and I just can't wait until I finish the last level and I become a fully local network lead. And very interested to what's coming up. So Favi, you have a question? Just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone from here. My name is Favi Biabogi. I'm with my colleague, Alcine Mycetoma. He is a dermatologist. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Lemis for her grand presentation. And my question is about the collaboration with Open Science. She showed us the map, and I found out that my country is not yet member of this Open Science. And I would like to know how country can be member Open Science. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Favi, for this question. Again, as I said, we've only been in operation for less than a year, and unfortunately, we could not reach all of the African countries, but that's the goal. So basically, you could just sign up, you from a certain country, when you sign up to our community and bring your colleagues on board to sign up, then we sort of add your country to our community. We say that we have community members from this country, and then you will be involved in our community webinars, community activities. So it would be just simply by signing up to our community. I'll share the link in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
So
Lemis, is it the membership, is it a country base or is it an institutional base?
Currently, it's an individual base. Currently, as I said, we're working with grassroots researchers, but now we've started the local network lead training program that Samira is part of. And in this program, we have African scholars from certain institutions all over Africa. So by the end of the training, these local network leads, these trainees will represent their institutions, So we're trying to build it step by step. So now the membership is for the individuals. Anyone from any institution could be involved. And then we're also doing what is called working groups. So these are by discipline. So for example, we can hopefully have a working group for neglected tropical diseases or infectious diseases. We started a working group for librarians, because unfortunately they are severely neglected in Africa, but they are crucial in when it comes to open science. We also started a working group in Ghana, for example. So it's very fluid, we try to accommodate whatever approach that would serve the community best.
Lubna, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, thank you, Lemis, for this nice presentation. I want to ask if there is any specific requirement for apply.
No, you basically just have to be interested in open science. There are we don't assume that you have previous knowledge in open science, because we are here to build your knowledge on open science. So it's basically just the interest for you to join. But for our training program, we did have a bit strict rules. It was a tough competition. We had over 100 applicants, and only 70 were selected. Samira was one of them. But then even those, because the training program is in 3 levels, even those 70 boiled down to about 40 in level 2, and in level 3, I think they've even boiled down more to 30. So when you are part of our training program, it's strict, because you are going to be a leader in your community. So we expect you to, to have certain attributes, But to be part of the RN community, we, as I said, we only require your passion and curiosity.
Thank you so much, Lamis. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think if there are no more questions, we shall move on to the next session. Dr. Mohammed. So Dr. Mohammed Al-Badawi will take us on applying for PhD in that scholarship. Dr. Mohammed, the floor is yours and you can start sharing your screen.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can clearly hear you.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, but can you put it on presentation mode?
Yes. What about now?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So firstly, I would like to thank Professor Al-Fahal and Samira for giving me this opportunity to deliver a short talk about application for DAD scholarship. And actually, because of the time, I will delve into application for DAD PhD programs. And perhaps in the future, we can have another talk about application for some master program. For DAD, which is the German Academic Exchange Service, it's a private federal funded and state funded self-governance agency. And usually it represents more than 300 German higher education institutes with an annual budget of more than 500 million euro. And as I said last time, DAD has huge variety of scholarships for master applicants for PhD, and even for PhD programs, there are also different types of programs. Depends on the application requirements, depends on the country, and also they have some programs for postdoc as well. As I said, I will talk about the PhD grant and the application for PhD programs. So who can apply for this program? Usually any excellent qualified young academics can apply for this program who have completed their master degree or diploma, and very rarely or in some exceptional cases if you have a bachelor degree, but usually you have to hold a master degree to apply for such kind of scholarship. And I will explain further regarding your degrees and your certificates. So for this program, the doctoral programs, usually any programs that could be in any one of the German institutes, either you have individual project under the supervision of university or academic advisor, such as the program where I have been enrolled. And in this case, you apply personally for supervisor, you write a research proposal, and then you work with in a research project. Or usually you can participate in a structural or structured doctoral study program. And this is usually is not common here in Germany. Most of the programs are, or PhD programs are research-based, but in some cases, there are some structured programs, for example, for clinical pharmacy, for other kind of health sciences, there are some structured programs where you have many of courses, workshops, seminars, and then you have your complementary research at the end of your PhD project. But the majority of they are individual projects, as I said. So you contact a German professor, you get his acceptance, and then you receive the scholarship, and then you start pursuing your PhD project. We will come to the details later. So the duration of funding, usually maximum of 4 years. But there is also, you can apply for what's so-called research completion grant, which is usually for 6 months. So apparently it is 4.5 years. This is the maximum period of funding. the grants are initially awarded for a maximum of 1 year. So usually when you receive the scholarship or the letter of award, you receive the scholarship for the first year, and then you have to write an annual report. And then according to your report, according to your output, to your results, and then again, there will be evaluation, and then you apply for extension of your scholarship for the next year, and so on. So annually, you have to write a report for DAD, and then with detailed what you have done, not more than 10 pages. And then your report will be evaluated, and then you receive your grant for the next year, and so on. So after 4 years, then you have to apply for a different kind of grant, which is called research completion grant, which is only for maximum of 6 months. And you have for sure to provide a convenient reason that why you need this extension, and also a letter from your supervisor. So annually you have to provide a report. You have to provide also a recommendation letter from your supervisor about your ongoing project and what you achieved so far. So regarding the value of the scholarship for PhD student, 1,300 euro monthly. In the past, it was only 1,000. When I came here, it was 1,000. Now it is 1,300. The health insurance is covered. So immediately when you receive the letter of award, you receive also your documents of health insurance. And if you have a family, then also there is allowance for your spouses or even children. So for your partner, you receive extra 276 euro. For each child, you receive 250 euro. And then you receive annual research allowance of 460. So each year, when you receive the letter of award for extension of your scholarship, you receive 460 euro. Usually, this is you can consume this amount of the money, for example, to participate in conference and so on. And for those who are working, for example, in fields, or you have field trip, let's say you are working on any kind of infectious diseases and so on, and then you need to go to Sudan or any field trip, you can apply for DAD for travel allowance, and then they pay for you for your field trip. So it should be field trip. So not only for visiting your family and so on. So you have to go there for sample collection or for analysis or whatever. They also pay for the field trip. So the selection of the applicants, I have to say the DAD scholarship in the past, before when we want to apply, we saw that it's really very difficult and no one can be selected. There have been these rumors when we were back in Sudan. It is competitive, yet it's not difficult and it's not impossible. And I applied for the DAD in 2016. I received the grant in 2017. And I can tell you from that time till now, there is huge progress in the application and the amount of the scholarship holders from Sudan. In 2017, there were only two applicants accepted, me and other applicant. 2 years ago, there were 6 PhD applicants accepted for the DAD scholarship. So this is, in terms of progress, this is a good progress, I can say, because imagine that there is only 42 positions for Sub-Saharan Africa for PhD, because North Africa is other region. We belong to Sub-Saharan Africa, Sub-Saharan region, sorry. And then imagine competing with different countries and then having like 6 chances for Sudanese applicant. This is really good. And in the last couple of years, the majority of selected applicants, they were from usually basic medical science. I can tell you 2 years ago, we had, as I said, 6 applicants, because I have been in contact with different applicants from Sudan. And there were 3 pharmacists, 1 medical doctors and 2 from basic biology science. So 6 applicants were from basic medical science or health science. So the selection criteria depends on your qualifications for sure, and the quality of research project in terms of originality, topicality, relevance, and the choice of the host institute and first contact. And the third criteria depends on your career prospect, the motivation, and so on. And so the qualifications, your qualifications are really important. And the quality of research project, I can tell you this is the most important item, the most important selection criteria for receiving DAD scholarship. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the research project and your proposal. So just a few points to bear in mind before you apply. Applicants should not have graduated any longer than 6 years before the application deadline. And by this sentence, they mean the last degree. So if you are applying for PhD, you should not have your master degree, not the bachelor, your master degree longer than 6 years ago. And if you are already start your PhD, let's say you started your PhD in Sudan and for any reason you stopped, you can still apply for the DAD scholarship, but you should not have started your PhD longer than 3 years ago. If you are staying in Germany, if you are living in Germany, or you did your master's degree or so on, you cannot apply if you have been resident in Germany for longer than 15 months at the application deadline. So you have to consider these 3 points when you are applying for DAD. Nevertheless, I encourage anyone who is interested to apply for this scholarship to apply. Even, let's say, especially for the first point, if you finish your master even 6 years ago, apply for the scholarship. Don't hesitate and don't say, okay, I don't have the chance to get this scholarship. The last one, if you are residing in Germany, will be a little bit difficult if you are here in Germany for more than 15 months. Otherwise, you can apply for sure. Then I am going to talk about the required documents for your scholarship. And so the first and the most important documents you need for your scholarship is your research proposal. And I highlighted in red because this is really very important, and I keep always saying this is your passport to winning the scholarship. So we are talking about this proposal letter. There is online application form. When you started your application, you can you apply, you fill this form online, and then you have to provide your bachelor certificate in addition to your transcript, and the master certificate in addition also to your transcript or details for your master. Sometimes if you had your master degree in research, and for sure sometimes you don't have this transcript, you can write to the DAD and inform them that you don't have the transcript for your master degree. Sometimes because of the conflict now, maybe some of us, they don't have their certificates or so on. Actually, you can still apply even if you don't have your master degree, but you should be able to provide your certificate before the announcement of the results of the scholarship. So usually the deadline at the end of October, and then the results will be announced the beginning of next year by late February or maximum March, but usually they announce the winner of the scholarship in February. So you have to provide both your certificate and then one recommendation letter. In the past, it was 2 recommendation letter, but now they make it easier, 1 recommendation letter, and the recommender, the person who is going to write the recommendation letter for you, doesn't need to write complete letter. Usually now they have a form, and then you send this form to your professor or your university teacher, and then he or she fills this form for you, and then you can submit this form by post and also online. So next, acceptance letter, and this is also the second most important document you need for applying for this scholarship. And without acceptance letter, your application will not be considered. Forget about it. And recently, they have introduced motivation letter. By our time, there were no motivation letter. You have to provide your CV. It's better to be in Eurobus form. And if you have a list of publication, if you have even one publication, please attach this list of publication. This is really important because this also can show how qualified you are in terms of research and your passion for research. So you have to provide the list of publication if you have. If you attended conferences, workshop, or any kind of academic activity. I hope I am not talking very, very fast. And is it fine or I'm talking very fast?
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, thank you. And you have to provide also a timetable for your research work. You can provide it in any format, in table or any kind of calendar format. You have to attach it as separate document, and also you have to add it to your proposal. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about your research proposal and the acceptance letter, because from my experience in the last couple of years, this is one of the challenging documents. And sometimes people, they are preparing or writing the research proposal in a careless way, or sometimes you don't give much effort for writing your research proposal. And this is also could be an issue because let's say 10 years ago, the situation was different to apply for the DAD scholarship. There have been a committee from university professors, and they make the interview in person for the applicants in Sudan. But now, starting from 2016, they have stopped this kind of interviews, and that's why only your documents are talking on behalf of you. And for sure, the most important document is your proposal, because DAD, they have independent scientific committee, and this committee will evaluate your documents, including your research proposal, and accordingly, they rank the applicants, and then they send their recommendation to the DAD that we recommend to accept this applicant and this person. So the DAD, they have also guidelines for how to write the research proposal. It should be extensive and detailed description of your project, maximum 10 pages. And on the title page, you have to state, for example, your personal data, your name, academic title, nationality, address, and email, and then the title of your research project. I have to mention that usually when you are writing your research proposal, make it as novel as possible, and as I said, put your effort in writing this research proposal. If, for example, sometimes when we write the research proposal, we think as if we are in Sudan. And then, for example, I have been in contact with many of my colleagues and revising many proposals. Sometimes when we write the proposal, you omit or you forget about many of experiments because you think that this experiment is very expensive and cannot be achieved. Actually, you don't have to think as if you are in Sudan. Think that you need to add the best possible and the most updated techniques to be performed on your proposal, because this will give the feeling that you are really updated person and you really know what you want to do. So this checklist from the DAD website, usually you can write the table of content, but also you can forget about it because 10 pages is also a little bit critical. I didn't write it, but you can write it also, the abstract, a very short abstract, and then the normal content of your research proposal. And as I said, it should not exceed 10 or maximum 11 page. You will find this in the website of DAD. I have also attached the link. And one more point regarding your research proposal. This proposal, as I said, is the most essential document for winning the scholarship. The research proposal, you are not obliged to conduct the research that you have written in your proposal. So I wrote my research proposal in cancer drug discovery. When I came here, my main project was in the drug discovery of irritable bowel syndrome. So the DAD, they don't have the right to force you to conduct the proposal that you have written in your application. So it's only the decision of your supervisor. And you have to be aware about that. Sometimes we are motivated to conduct certain proposal, and then at the end we find that, for example, your supervisor decided to change the topics or to continue or on ongoing project from his own lab. You have to accept this fact. But so for DAD, the research proposal is mainly a tool for evaluation. They are evaluating you through your research proposal. That's why you have to take it very, very, very serious when you are writing your research proposal. You have to keep updated. You have to add more novel ideas to your research proposal. You have to read a lot, so it will be scientifically strong and very convincing for the committee. So regarding your certificates, they should be all in English or German. And I think most of us, we have their certificates in English, but Arabic and other languages, they are not accepted. They should be only in English or German translation. If you are accepted for the scholarship, then you need to have a certified copies of your certificates. And you can, in the past, we used to do so. For example, when you go to the Ministry of Exterior Affairs, or I think so, I'm not, you need to certify your copies in the embassy in the past, but you can do this here in Germany with any lawyer. You have to have your school leaving certificate. You will need it for the registration and the matriculation at the university if you receive the scholarship. And as I said, the master and the bachelor certificates. At this moment, the DAD scholarship is quite different from other kind of scholarship. You don't need to apply to the university directly. You don't need to submit your documents to any kind of university office and so on. The only decision will be from the professor or the supervisor you contact. So this is completely different, for example, from other scholarships, especially in United Kingdom. When you apply, you have to apply through portal for the university, and then your certificate will be evaluated, and then they look for a supervisor or you recommend a supervisor. The situation is different here in Germany. You don't need to contact the university at all. You just need to contact a German professor in whom you are interested in his work, and then that's it. If the professor provides you with a letter of acceptance, that's more than enough for applying for the scholarship. So as I said, you need acceptance letter from a German supervisor, and you have to conduct an extensive search because you need to find the suitable research group that match your research interest. And as I said before, without the acceptance letter, your application will not be considered at all. And at this point, university admission is not needed. And regarding the acceptance letter, this is the second most challenging issue when we apply for the scholarship. We have been always facing this problem because you need to send for a couple of professors, for example, till you get the acceptance. You have to make a list of different professors in different German universities and institutes. Some of them, they don't reply. Some of them, they said we retired. Some of them, they said, we don't have any position. We are overloaded. I'm going to retire in 1 or 2 years, and so on. So you have to continue writing to different professors till you get your acceptance letter. One of the most important point, I think, if you know any of your colleagues or your network who is working or conducting his or her research here in Germany, this is the easiest way to get an acceptance letter. Let's say I have one of my colleagues, my university staff or friends or whatever is doing his master or PhD in Germany here, and you are interested in their group. I would say this is the easiest way. You send to this professor and then contact your network or your friend or your colleague and let him or her recommend you with the professor. And this is the easiest way to get the recommendation letter. I can tell you from my experience. So this will be very helpful. Otherwise, you have to keep sending to different professors till you get an acceptance. Some of the professors, they will ask you to write a research proposal. Some of them, they don't care. If they have a position, they can give you the acceptance, and because they know, for example, they need someone to come and work for their ongoing research. And you don't have to be reluctant if if any professor offer you to come and work in his group. If you find his group is more or less matching your interest, you can accept, because it's not easy to find a supervisor here in Germany. This is just an example of how you are going to organize the research work. It's just an arbitrary, and for sure you don't need to stick to this timetable. It's just to show how organized you are, and that you know exactly what kind of experiment you are going to perform for the whole period of your PhD. For sure, sometimes one of the experiments need even more time. When I wrote this, I was very optimistic. Like, I didn't work with my proposal, but like, for example, I said compound synthesis 2 months. I believe Lemis will be laughing at me because it's really impossible to synthesize, I think, a benzene ring in 2 months, not even a compound. So this is just an example for how to write the schedule of your research work. Regarding the language proficiency, ironically, if you are applying for a master's degree, you have to provide an English proficiency certificate, IELTS or TOEFL and so on, because the master programs usually they are in course, and the majority of courses they are provided in English, fortunately enough. So that's why you need to provide a certificate of your English proficiency. Fortunately, if you are applying for PhD, neither German certificate nor English are required. So if you have them, it's fine. If you don't have, it's also fine. I didn't have IELTS when I applied for the scholarship. I didn't know any single word of German language, with exception of thank you and good morning. The DAD, they provide for you an extensive German course before you start your PhD. Usually it can range from 2 months for master student up for master applicants, up to 6 months for PhD candidates. And also they pay all the expenses for the German course. They pay for your accommodation. They will provide you the accommodation, and they pay for your personal expenses during the German course. You don't select the center where you will have this German course. They select you randomly, and then they will tell you you have to go to this city to start your German course. Everything will be prepared for you. Unfortunately, during the German course, you cannot accompany your family. So if you have a family for the German course, you have to come by yourself. And then because they don't cover the expenses for your family during the German course, unless you declare that you are going to provide your family their own expenses. So you have to pay for your family during the German course. Otherwise, you come by yourself, and then after the German course, it will be very easy to bring your family. So the application procedure to apply, please select the call for application for this program in the funding guide.de. You will find the link at the end of this presentation. You can enter the portal by clicking submitting an application, and then you will find the application form, and then you can proceed with the application. And also, please be sure that all your documents are ready before you started the application, because it's one-way process. You have to have all the documents in hand in PDF format. They are all ready. Make a checklist, and then you can start submitting your application. Very important, the access to the application portal only appears while the current application period is running. After the application deadline had expired, the portal for this program is not available until next application period. So on the 15th of October, you cannot access the application link anymore. So that's it. So you have to be very careful. I would recommend always, so the application period, I will come back to the application period from the 1st of July till the 15th of October. You have more or less 3.5 months. In the past, it was only from 15th of September till the end of October. It was only 1.5 months. And then now it is 3.5 months, the period of application for the PhD program. I would recommend always to upload your documents, let's say 2 or 3 days before the deadline. I had this experience personally, and I can tell you the last day of the application, there will be a huge applicants. Many people, they would like to upload their documents on the deadline, and usually from time to time their server is down, and this is really very risky. So it's better to upload your documents, let's say a few days before the deadline, just in case any kind of problem happened to the server, then you have again enough time to upload your documents. It happened to me. I uploaded my documents just on the last day because I didn't receive the acceptance letter just 2 days before the deadline, and the server was down many times, and then I was able to upload my documents, luckily. But you have to be careful. So just as a summary, you have to fill the application, upload the documents, and then you will receive application summary. Usually you need to send this application summary together with the recommendation letter with the boss. And I'm quite sure because of the situation now in Sudan, you can send it from the country of your residence, or you can also contact them, and they are really very flexible. So the call for application, you have to prepare your documents. You have to fill the application form, and then submit your documents. You receive the application summary, and then the final decision will, as I said, will be on February, and then they send you all the required documents, and then you can apply for the visa. Currently, because also of this conflict in Sudan, you can apply from the German embassy in Egypt or in Addis Ababa. So both embassies, they have some of the staff members from the German embassy in Sudan, and they are processing the applications for any Sudanese nationality or applicant. So it's not a problem regarding the visa. You can apply from Egypt or from Addis Ababa. And for DAD applicants, usually they receive the visa very fast. In less than 2 weeks. In 10 days, you can receive the visa, or even 1 week. So the process is not complicated. Everything is, and it's also free of charge for the DAD applicants. So as I said, you have to submit your documents just few days to 1 week before the deadline, because sometimes the portal will not function properly in the last few days. And as I said also before the deadline, and that portal closes at 12 midnight Central European time. Also, you have to be careful of the time zone and the time difference from Sudan, from Egypt, and from Germany as well. There are other individual scholarships. I'm not expert, but they are also can be useful, especially for staff members. There was so-called binational PhD programs, and in this case, the qualified PhD student, they can apply for funds. If you are already started your PhD in Sudan, you can come to Germany and conduct part of your PhD project here in Germany. So you have to find another German supervisor, and then you apply for this binational PhD program. So you will have a Sudanese supervisor or any supervisor in your home country, and then you have also a German supervisor, and they can support you for up to 2 years. And this is also very good chance, very useful. They have postdoctoral research, international mobility experience, and this is to support the international mobility of postdoctoral researcher through like some kind of positions in German university up to 18 months, from 12 up to 18 months for postdoctoral programs. They have other kind of scholarship for postdoc. And then there is also research stay for university academics and scientists. And this kind of scholarship to support teacher and scientists who completed their PhD and they are working in university or research institute in their home country to carry out some kind of research in Germany. I provided the links for further readings. Currently, Sudan belongs to the regional office or it's working under the umbrella of regional office in Cairo. Since a couple of years, we used to have an office, and the contact person was in the Faculty of Art, the Department of German Language, but currently we belong to the regional office in Cairo, and this is their email and their phone number. You can contact them if you have any kind of inquiry. If you are applying from Sudan, for sure. If you are applying from other country, you have to check which regional office your country belongs to. And finally, thank you for your attention. I hope I didn't take more than the time. And also thank you for giving me this chance. If you have any question, I'm more than welcome to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Mohammed, for your presentation.
Yeah, indeed, it is another good presentation. As you can see from the presentation Mohammed given to us here, proposal writing is the most important and crucial and critical part of this process.
Yes.
We need to write a winning proposal, and that is the trick to get these funding opportunities. At the Mycetoma Research Center website, we have a presentation on a winning proposal writing. And I would like to encourage all of you to visit the site and to have a look on this presentation. Again, I would like to encourage you to have small groups on proposal writing discussion. So if somebody has a proposal, we are very happy to have a small group discussion about improving on this proposal, so as you can apply for a winning proposal, winning grant for this. And I think let us, Samira, think about these small groups on proposal writing improvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof. And of course, we will work on these small groups, on initiating these groups.
Thank you, Doctor, for this great presentation. And we are looking forward about the presentation about the master degree and requirement which is needed to be applied for that scholarship or any German university.
Thank you so much. Yes, we can have another session in the future about applying for the master. I have many, let's say, many posts and many links. I already posted in the social media. So meanwhile, I can send the links for many posts I wrote on applying for the scholarship for the master and for a PhD. I can maybe share with all of you in the WhatsApp group, and then you can have a look on the requirement for applying for the master program. More or less, they are more or less similar, with some exceptions. You don't need to write a research proposal for sure, but you need to provide, let's say, English proficiency, as I mentioned before. And there are other requirements, but I think the most critical one is like having the English proficiency. Otherwise, the other requirements are more or less the same. They have just different application form you need to fill. They have some checklist. The motivation letter is the same. The university transcript is the same. The recommendation letter for sure. Only one thing is needed also for the master, to provide some kind of professional experience related to the master program. Let's say if you are applying for a master program of public health, you need to provide any kind of certificate that you have worked or you have any kind of professional experience in this field. It will be very helpful. Otherwise, the rest of the requirements is more or less the same. But nevertheless, I will share this with you in the group with all the links required to apply for the master programs, with the different universities, and also the deadline. For the master programs, there are 2 deadlines for each program. There is a deadline for the scholarship and deadline for the university itself, in contrast to the applying for PhD, where there is only one deadline.
That will be very helpful.
Yeah.
Also, I want to ask about the German language for master degree. It doesn't need any proficiency or any, maybe A2, B1 or anything?
No. For so generally, to win the scholarship of DAD, either for the master or PhD, you don't need to have any kind of German proficiency language at all. So this is the first point. For the, as I said, for the master, you need just to provide that you have English proficiency. For PhD, you don't need neither English nor German proficiency. The DAD will provide a German course for you. If you are a master, if you are applying for master, they will provide 2 months intensive German course. If you are applying for PhD, they provide from 4 to 6 months intensive German course in person. During the Corona, it was online, but now they are back to in-person German course, intensive German course. Even if you decided to continue studying the German, even let's say the German course finished, you started your master degree, you decided to enroll into any kind of German course in your university or in any other school, the DAD can pay for you. If you would like also to sit for the national exam for the German language, they will pay for you. So any kind of studying the German language, even after you finish your official German course and during your master or PhD study, they can pay for you for the German course. So you don't have to provide any kind of proficiency, neither A1 or anything.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any further questions, please feel free.
If you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask. So I see that there are no questions, but everyone is commenting in the chat that they are happy with the presentation and saying that it was nice and informative presentation.
Thank you so much. That's my pleasure.
Prof, do you want to add anything?
No, thank you very much, Samira. I think this is a very good session. We started with Namis. She gave a very good presentation on open science, and I think this is the future science activity. And then the scholarships and the PhD and the master degree and that. Again, this is another way and means to complete our career and to improve the quality of the research we are providing for our patients and our institute. I saw in the chat somebody asking about the open science and the mycetoma. It is not related to mycetoma, the open science. Open science is for everything. So don't be any. You can apply for these open science opportunities, and you'll be part of this community. And it is not only for mycetoma researchers on mycetoma community. Thank you very much. And I think this is again another good session at our surgical about our research club, and we look forward for more collaboration in this work. Limia, are you there, Professor Limia?
Yes, Professor Fahal.
Yes, please. Our comment is very important.
Thank you very much. Wallahi, I really enjoyed both presentations, Dr. Lemis and Dr. Mohammed. It's really, during these dire circumstances, it gives quite a beacon of hope, actually, especially for the young scientists and researchers. So thank you so much. And it was actually an eye-opener. I basically never heard about this open science. So it's really nice. So thank you both presenters. It's really excellent. Thank you very much. Shukran.
Thank you, Professor Lamia. It's our pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mohammed.
If I may add just one thing, Samira, sorry. Because we have some attendee from other country, maybe.
Yes.
This presentation was designed for application for Sudan. I just have to mention that if you are from other countries, there are even more possibilities for winning the scholarship in comparison to Sudan, because there are other kind of joint programs between the DAD Foundation and the governments of many countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, and Egypt. And then they have the possibility to accept more applicants in comparison to the situation in Sudan. So this is another kind of program different from the standard program that I have been talking about. There is another program which is you apply for, again, for the scholarship, but in this case, the DAD pay 50% and your government pay 50%. And this program is very common and well established for a couple of years in Kenya, Ethiopia, Egypt, and many other African countries. So this is just a short addition. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. Thank you. So everyone has to check with their country.
Yes.
Yes. Lemis, you have a raised hand. Would you just please unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you. And sorry, I know we're out of time, but I just wanted to say something quickly, especially to Professor Fahal and Professor Lemia, is that we have someone who's an authority in open science actually at the University of Khartoum, which is Dr. Rania Belila. Unfortunately, she's not very well known as an open science Africa expert in Sudan, but globally, like she is invited to speak about open science. So I just wanted to point that out, is that like activities on open science, like what she did with the repository for the University of Khartoum, this was part of open science. And yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to her and say that there have been people who have long been working in open science, but unfortunately they're not very well noticed in our community. Yeah.
Thank you, Lemis, for this addition. And Profile, I think there's someone in the chat just asking that they wish you to present with new thoughts from Mycetoma Research Center.
Definitely,
comment?
we will. Definitely, I will do that. Let us organize the meeting and then see when it's going to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you. And I just want to say, if anyone who has worked in Mycetoma, you're welcome to present your talk, your work. You can just you can contact me, or you can through WhatsApp or email, and then we can schedule. Or if you have a topic, for example, Lemis today spoke about open science, and it's not Mycetoma, so you're free to present. Just let us know so we can schedule that. I think there are no more questions and no more additions. So I'd like to thank our presenters, Dr. Lemis and Dr.
Just
Mohammed.
a small comment, Samira. This presentation, this webinar will be available at the Mycetoma Research Center website. So please go to the Mycetoma Research Club. The second page, you will find all these presentations, webinars. The videos are available there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for this edition. So I'd like to thank our presenters and our audience for today. Thank you so much. It was really nice having you today, and we're looking forward for our upcoming meetings and seeing you again. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.